Come on in, welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's most invisible tribes. I've already talked at length about some of Survivor's most invisible players. With some regularity, Survivor's made entire players just completely disappear from the story, the particularly unlucky or irrelevant averaging less than one measly confessional per episode.
I've been sucking it up for 28 days. I have nothing left to suck.
And while it's much rarer, occasionally entire tribes get purpled too. Unfortunately, there's no perfect mathematical way to gauge how invisible a tribe is. I can't use confessional counts because one player can otherwise skew a tribe's exposure average significantly. Going by confessional count, for example, Foa is one of the most visible tribes in history, but that's simply due to one player's massive overexposure. They're otherwise a pretty average tribe by confessional count when you take Russell out of the mix. So for this particular video, I've just decided to trust my gut on which tribes were completely underedited and unmemorable. Which tribes made the cut, and how many of them do you even remember? Why were these people sandbagged so hard in the edit? Let's find out. All that said, let's dig into Survivor's most invisible tribes ever. Well, speaking of Survivor Samoa, at number 5 is Galu, the other tribe on this season. There have been more invisible tribes since, but Galu deserves a spot on the ranking simply for being the literal original purple tribe, the shoulders upon which all future invisible tribes would stand on, which is kind of frustrating because I think this is one of the most entertaining tribes in Survivor history. Like, actually, I'm not even kidding. Hance aside, most of the big personalities on Samoa, Eric, Dave, Laura, Russell Swann, Shambo, Yasmin, are all on Galu. If only we got to see any of them. Sure, I guess Shambo's present, and she does get the second highest amount of confessionals for the season, serving as our eyes into the world of Galu, at least pre-merge. A fairly weird choice for the Galu audience surrogate and narrator, considering she literally based her strategic decisions on her bad dreams. You know, Survivor, having a mullet doesn't automatically make someone relatable to the Midwest audience. The other high-vis player on this tribe is Russell Swann, our heroic tribe leader who's medically evacuated, an event which precipitates the ultimate self-destructive downfall of his tribe at the merge. But pre-merge, the rest of this tribe is as barely there as Jeff at Samoa's reward challenges, and that's ultimately our loss. As the post-merge would reveal, this tribe was capital M messy. It's honestly impressive how bad blowing an 8-4 lead at the merge is, including losing 7 of your players consecutively. I mean, imagine getting outfoxed by Mick. So why was Galu so invisible? Because Russell Hance got more than 25% of the season's confessionals, the highest percentage of confessionals of any player ever. That's why. Because Samoa and Heroes vs. Villains were filmed basically back-to-back, production knew how well Russell did in his second appearance when they were editing Samoa, rightly predicted he'd be a popular character with the audience, and so turned Samoa into an extended commercial for Heroes vs. Villains by cranking the Russell confessional dial up to 11. I mean, by the end of the third episode, Russell has almost 30 confessionals. How many times do I need to hear about Russell seeds? Ugh, branding, Russell. Branding. At number 4 is Luvu from Survivor 41. You know, the tribe that had 4 of the final 6, including the winner. In hindsight, it's genuinely bizarre that most of the already rare pre-merge content on Luvu focused on Nasir and Sydney, the only 2 members of this tribe not to make the end of the game.
That is Nasir.
While the Luvu tribe dynamics eventually crystallized down the line, trying to understand who was aligned with who and who was in trouble on this tribe during the pre-merge was a baffling ordeal. Danny and Deshawn are tight, maybe Sydney's with them. Nasir was gonna be voted out, or not. Erica was on the block at one point, but maybe it would have been Sydney. And where's Purple Heather in all of this? Who knows? The alliance of Erica and Heather would go on to be the most important alliance of the entire season, and yet these two in particular are nowhere to be found. All we get of Erica is Deshawn trying and failing to throw a challenge to vote her out, and all we get of Heather is her sucking at a challenge. Frankly, I don't care when Heather has trouble in a challenge, because I don't know who she is. I mean, I also don't care when Sari has trouble in a challenge, but I care slightly more. On the one hand, this tribe was a victim of their own success. They didn't attend tribal council once pre-merge, so by default, they're going to get less screen time than Yasa or Ua. And considering all the talk of this being a new era of Survivor, I think it's pretty clear looking back that Survivor wanted to better hide their winner from the savvy edit readers. And part of that was intentionally removing the winner and their tribe from most of the pre-merge, and have Erica, who played a low-key game at the start, transform from lamb to lion at the merge. At least, that's my theory. Whatever the reason for Luvu's complete invisibility, they'll go down as the tribe that officially broke Edgic. And for that, they should be proud. At number 3 is Goda, the fans tribe from Survivor Karamoan. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I waffled a bit on putting this tribe on this list, because I don't think they're as undercooked as their reputation suggests. I mean, there are bona fide storylines and established alliances on this tribe. But when I sat down and reviewed the footage and realized these bona fide storylines are as dry as Philip's mouth, and the established alliances don't go anywhere, I knew in my heart of hearts I had to include them. This is the only tribe in Survivor history where I feel like they really didn't even try in casting. They completely phoned it in. Sometimes you see a player on Survivor who flops on the show and isn't super entertaining, but you get what they were going for when they were cast. Occasionally you see a player on Survivor who flops and you have no idea what they were going for. And just once, we have an entire tribe that flops, and I have absolutely no idea what they were going for with this group of people. If I was setting out to make the least dynamic tribe in Survivor history, and I could cast any players from any season, like 8 of these people would still be here. This is the sorriest group of Survivor fans since, well, the last fans tribe. To quote one of their Karamoan castmates, "No one's clamoring for anything Goda flavored." Because they end up going to tribal council so often before the swap, the Goda tribe does get a fair amount of screen time. Certainly more than Galoo and Luvu, but intent matters. Nothing we ever see on this tribe pre-merge pays off later, and none of it is interesting. That's why this tribe is widely regarded as one of the most invisible ever, despite their decent screen time. Absolutely nothing memorable happens, and post-merge, their scant few storylines are completely dropped. Sherry, the tribe's most developed character, completely disappears into the background, only to pop up again at Final Tribal Council just in time to be ignored again. Michael's quietly voted out as an easy consensus boot, and Reynold and Malcolm morph into one indistinguishable character. I call him Malnold. Incredibly, Eddie, who bumbles his way to the end of the game, becomes the tribe's breakout star. Eddie, the human golden retriever. It's clear to me that in both fans versus favorite seasons, the fans tribe were obvious cannon fodder, probably intentionally bland so as not to upstage the favorites tribe. Only the problem here is, in Micronesia, there were actual favorites. If you're gonna under-edit an entire tribe in favor of your returnees, at least give me Sari and Penner. Not this.
I feed myself!
At number 2 is Tavua from Survivor. You know what? You tell me. Tell me which season this tribe was on. Tell me who was on this tribe. You literally cannot. If you guessed Survivor Game Changers and said Sarah, Troyzan, Sari, Andrea, Zeke, and Ozzy, I don't believe you. After the first 2 votes in Game Changers, the tribes were randomly mixed up, with the remaining 18 players expanding from 2 tribes to 3 tribes. The first swap in Game Changers is easily the most entertaining part of the season for me, and for a brief moment in time, it seemed like the season might be salvaged, despite losing Tony in the first episode. I mean, pretty much every second spent on New Nuku is absolute gold. And New Mana has its moments too. Then there's our brand new third tribe, Tavua, where the big storyline is Ozzy is good at fishing. Wow, never seen this one before. If they weren't obligated to show each tribe at least once per episode, and if the winner of the season wasn't on this tribe, I think this tribe would have been completely scrubbed from the narrative. This is the only tribe on this list where I actually think they got an appropriate amount of screen time. For the 3 episodes this tribe exists, we only check in with them once per episode for a token, hey, remember these people exist. And that's fine with me. Not since Lamina and Kasaya have we seen such a wide entertainment gap between survivor tribes. Over on Mana and Nuku, we have goats hunting goats, sugar wars, and Debbie meltdowns galore. Here's the most exciting thing happening on Tavua.
Well, I mean, I don't really know all the relationships.
Right.
So someone might have other ideas.
Just wanted to,
no, of
at
course.
least say hello.
I know, of course.
Stupid tribe, be more interesting. Game Changers was going to squeeze as much mileage out of their actual game changers while they had them as they could. And come on, if I heard there was a scene where Sandra, JT, and Malcolm hunt a baby goat and it was cut to squeeze in, like, Troyzan confessionals, I'd be writing my congresswoman to get CBS taken off the air. The most invisible tribe in Survivor history is Kama from Survivor Edge of Extinction. I intended for this to be pre-swap Kama, but come to think of it, you could even make a case for post-swap Kama too. Well, let's stick with pre-swap Kama, where the only real storyline is the Kama 6 not wanting to play with returnees. I'd be shocked to ever see the tribe captain format ever again on Survivor, and we can directly thank Kama for that, for ensuring that Aubrey and Joe were the first 2 people voted out of their tribe. And other than Aubrey, only Victoria and Ron got any decent screen time at all, and even that is mostly surface-level outlining of basic alliances. When the first person voted out of the tribe has like the most cumulative screen time of everyone on the tribe, we've got a problem. Now, don't get me wrong, Manu's oversized screen time was justified to an extent. The bigger personalities are there, they can't win a challenge to save their lives, and collectively they have a delightfully toxic tribal dynamic. But it would have been nice to see a little more Kama content, considering all but one of them made the merge. Like, who are these people? Here's why Kama was barely there for most of the season. Survivor was in a pinch. 1, Manu was a train wreck that had a lot more going on that couldn't be cut because this season's pre-merge was far more important narratively than others, considering our winner exits the game around this time. And more importantly is 2, the Edge of Extinction. To make the win of someone who was voted out 3rd make any sense at all, we had to spend a lot of time on the Edge to justify all the votes that he got, as well as to underline the difficulty of the conditions he was living in. On top of that, Rick had to be pumped up as a huge threat, the final boss for the winner to take down, lest our Edge of Extinction winner's ultimate victory be unsatisfying. More so. Strange that the alliance that was so anti-returnee at the start of the game ended up voting for a returnee of sorts to win the game at the end. Ironic, they could save others from returnees, but not themselves. Got nothing else for ya. Don't be as invisible as these tribes. Like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.